Hello ladies and gentlemen, MarauderEX here, back with the next part of gaming nostalgia for me. And if you don't know what this game is by now, this is Chrono Trigger. Oh my god, I love this game. I love this game. I just sat here and watched the opening before recording this, and I'm just going to leave the opening in because I have to. So this was the game for me that got me into console RPGs. It wasn't the first one I owned, but it was the first one I played. One of my best friends as a kid had an SNES, and he had this game, and he introduced me to it. He borrowed it from a friend of his before buying his own copy. And I went over to his house, and the three of us were playing this game. And when I say the three of us were playing this game, the two of them were taking turns trying to get through it, and I'm just sitting here watching in awe. I was dumbstruck by this game. The graphics, the music, the style, the animations, combat. This was one of those games that's like, combat looks fun as opposed to kind of tedious. I had done a couple of tabletop games in my youth, like I said, and a couple of D&D games, and it was something I was really getting into, but this was the game that got me into console RPGs. And when we were sitting there playing it, I will never forget, it was winter. And it was one of the few winters in North Carolina that it snowed fairly excessively. Like, we got snow, and then we get a lot of ice, mostly. We'll get ice. Snow is a little rare for us, but I remember my friend said, "Hey guys, it's snowing. Do you guys want to go outside?" We all kind of looked out the window and was like, "Yeah, snow. Snow's kind of rare." And then we all looked back at the games like, at that point, someone had just learned a new magic attack, and we're like, "Nope, we're gonna sit here and play this game because we just learned a new fire-based spell. Like, why go out in the cold when I can cast fire too?" And that was it. That was it. Now, this game got me into console RPGs. I borrowed it from him once before I'd taken it over to another friend's house to show him. He was the same friend that I played Donkey Kong Country with, my next door neighbor. And my next door neighbor just, it's not really, a thing. And other people I know say, "Oh, it's one of those stupid walk-around games." Like, that was the term we had for RPGs, walk-around games. Because you walk around, you talk to people, you explore. Combat and boss battles are where you get your action. And, yeah. They didn't really seem to enjoy it as much as I did, or, my other two friends that owned a copy, and it was kind of disappointing to me. It's like, this was one of those games that it grabbed me the second I saw it, and I just could not stop watching it. I didn't even care about playing it at that point. I just wanted to keep watching them play it to see what was going to happen next, what was going on. Like, I learned that there's, some sort of plot, we have to save the world. I came in far enough into the game where it's like, there is an overreaching plot. We have to... There are people that need to be saved, and we have magic and swords and guns and this mix of sci-fi and sorcery that I wanted to know. But it wasn't until much, much later, probably 4 or 5 years almost. I had just moved in to a new house in a new neighborhood. Was still friends with all of my my old friends, but I wasn't able to see them nearly as much. But I was making new friends, and those new friends were also as interested in this type of game as I was. They had seen me play Shining Force 2, which is one that I had at that point for a while, and so I'm like, I need to do something. So I went back to my old friends. I'm like, "Hey, can I borrow your SNES and Chrono Trigger for, just a week or two. Just, long enough to show my friends this game and to beat it for once. Because I have to see the ending. I never saw the ending before. I had to finish it, and I had to show my new friends this game because I know it's something that they could get behind. And so he was gracious enough to let me borrow it, and I borrowed it over Thanksgiving break. And the problem is I didn't get to show it to my friends right off the bat because I had come down with a nasty case of the flu. I was running a fever and, coughing and sneezing and just all sorts of, sick, plague-related things, much like what prompted this entire project. I got far enough into the game to where it's like, you know what, I'm going to sit here and beat this game, and then I'm going to show my friends some of the highlights. So I used all 3 save points in the game to save, save one at the ending that I was playing, and then save 2 other parts that were just amazing. So that they could see the intro, and then they could see the rest of the game, just to get into it. And I finally beat it. Like, I spent that Thanksgiving break sick, but enjoying every minute of being sick because I was able to play a game that, from the moment I first saw it, just blew me away. It was amazing. And then once I recovered, I invited my friends over. It was, I believe, the last day of Thanksgiving break. I'm like, you guys have to see this game. Like, you've got to see this. You guys are gonna love it. We can't, pass this up. And we didn't. We sat there and we played it. Just extensively. That's really all we did was play this game. And I will really never forget that. And Chrono's gonna die. But I was so enthralled with this game that this became my go-to game for friends. It's like, hey, I'm really into RPGs. I'm like, what the hell are RPGs? Like, well, this is an RPG. I eventually, I didn't get my own copy. I don't know how I had this copy. I may have been borrowing it from another friend or something, but it was one of those that I had, and I was able to show friends. And one of my friends borrowed it from me, and we just sat there and played through it. It was amazing, and it was the best way that I spent my winter, and my Thanksgiving. The year that I was sick playing this game, my grandmother came to visit from out of state, and she'd walk upstairs and see how I was doing. You doing all right? You need anything to eat or drink? You know how grandmothers are. They're like they want to make sure you're fine and being taken care of. My mom was working mostly on Thanksgiving dinner and that sort of thing, and so my grandmother's like, so what are you playing? Just a game I borrowed from a friend. And I'll never really forget, she looked at, I had Frog in my party. She's like, is that guy a frog? Yeah. Like, well, you take after your mom and dad. They were big into that sci-fi fantasy stuff too. Like, I was a kid that I had a Star Trek lunchbox. Like, Star Trek The Next Generation lunchbox. Like, that was how dorky of a kid I was. And I got it from my parents. I got it from my mom and dad. My parents have an exhaustive library of books and movies that were just fun and amazing to read and watch. In fact, I've just borrowed from them a book by David Weber and John Ringo, March Up Country, that I've just started, and it's phenomenal. And I got this honestly from them, and I will never forget, bugging my parents with this. Like, we had a pretty big CD stereo system downstairs in my parents' house when I was growing up, and I borrowed the soundtrack to this game from a friend. I had a friend who imported the soundtrack to this game, 3 discs. It's a soundtrack that I actually own now, because I couldn't get by without getting a copy myself, because the soundtrack was just phenomenal. And I was just sitting there listening to it one day, downstairs on the computer, working on homework, with this in the background, and my mom walks in and is like, "What the hell are you doing?" "Working on homework." She's like, "What are you listening to? It sounds like you're playing video games." I'm like, "I'm listening to a soundtrack from a game." And she's like, "Oh, you're listening to a soundtrack of a game?" "Yeah." "Oh, okay. Like, is that alright?" It's like, "Yeah, it's just, one of the, like, I listened to music when I worked on homework as a kid, so, I mean, I thought you were playing a game instead of working on homework." No. Now, granted, this is one of those games that I often lied about. My mom asked me, have you finished all your homework?" "Yeah. Just checking. You gotta finish your homework before you play it." It's like, "Yeah, I've totally finished all of my homework, and I'm not just sitting here playing Chrono Trigger." This is one of those games that was a problem for me. But every aspect about this game just hooked me and would not let go. And I made this game the poster child for my friends. It's like, look, if you like anything sci-fi, if you like anything fantasy, you have to try this game. It got so many of my friends into RPGs, and it got me into RPGs. Like, after this, I started running a tabletop gaming campaign of my own, based off of GURPS D6. We enjoyed it for years, and that was one of those things that it got me into massive amounts of critical thinking, problem solving. It hurt my grades extensively from that point on, but like my dad and uncles grew up playing D&D. My older brother grew up playing D&D, so like they didn't say anything. They knew it was one of those things. It's like, you're gonna take to this a little much, but like, just I had to play this game, and I had to show friends. And then after this game, I have to play others. So I bought Shining Force 2 on the Genesis, because at the time I owned Genesis. Like, I have to have an RPG of my own on the Genesis, and yeah, I could go on forever about this game, but I will never forget Thanksgiving. Playing this game to its completion while being sick as a dog, nor will I ever forget as a child, in a state that rarely gets snow, looking outside and seeing snow falling, and it was perfect snow. It was like snowball fights, snowman. It was that perfect type of packing snow. It was, just wet and dense enough to where you could do stuff with it and have fun, make, decent size. Like, we had enough that we could make a decent sized snowman. And I will never forget choosing Like, we just learned a new ability. I got to see what this does and what double text we could learn with it, and all of the brand new mechanics that were just blowing me away that I'd never thought could be implemented in a game. And I had to do it. Like, we all just said, no, screw snow. Snow comes and goes. Like, this game, we got to keep playing this game. So yeah, like I said, I could keep going on and on forever, but this is one of those games that truly shaped who I was for pretty much my entire adolescence. From, the first day that I saw this game through today. I was going to say through high school, but no, through today. This is one of those games. So, also, keynote, if you ever play this game, don't eat that food that replenishes your health. It belongs to that old man, and you just stole his lunch. So yeah. So that's this episode of Gaming Nostalgia. Probably the penultimate episode, really. Like, this is the game that's like, this game just defined me, period. And it was, a major fall and winter game for me. Like, this is one of those games that every Thanksgiving I will sit back and go back and play. So it's a tradition now. So yeah, I will see you guys in the next installment. Again, take a wild stab in the dark about what game it could be. I'm really curious to see what you guys say, and I'll see you in the next installment. Till then, later everyone.